Hello once again, friends and enemies. It's your pal. Today I wanted to talk about a game that I think deserves a little bit more recognition than it actually got. That's right, it's Dungeon Dice Monsters. Dungeon Dice Monsters is a game in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe conceptualized by game shop owner Duke Devlin. In the anime, Duke challenges Yugi to a game of Dungeon Dice Monsters to prove that he is a cheater who couldn't actually beat Pegasus. In the manga, however, Duke Devlin plays Yugi in Dungeon Dice Monsters because he's being controlled by his crazy abusive dad who has a grudge against Yugi's grandpa. Yugi almost dies. It's pretty cool. Eventually they decided to make a physical version of the game. Dungeon Dice Monsters in both Japan and other countries. I was going to say Japan and America, and then I realized that was a very nearsighted vision of how things get released. Overall, they made a lot of pieces for Dungeon Dice Monsters, but it didn't really take off. It wasn't really super crazy popular with the kids. But I think it's a fun game, and I just wanted to show you here today a little bit about Dungeon Dice Monsters, because I really like it. I think it's fun. So let's go ahead and open this baby up. So let's see what's inside this box, why don't we? So the Dungeon Dice Monsters box comes with a couple things. The first thing you'll notice is this field that it comes with that you're gonna play on, of course. Next up we have the actual dice that you'll be playing with. You've got green, red, yellow, and blue, and you have 3 of each type of dice. Next up you got your monster figures and their respective cards. You get some counters to keep track of the crests you roll on each die, and then you get 1 Monster Lord. And for the other Monster Lord you just get a card. Oh yeah, I was wrong, you do get tiny little stand-ins for the Monster Lord. You get these little dice placards that you're gonna make up your board with. Then you get a bunch of counters to keep track of your life. So this is the Dungeon Dice Monsters board. And wait, hang on. This is the Dungeon Dice Monsters board. Yeah, so it turns out for the field that you get, the outer field is for advanced play. That's for if you have a lot of Dungeon Dice Monsters placards and monsters to play with. The inner field is just for this introduction set that this field came with. So if you just have this box that I just opened, this is the only field you can use. Each player starts with a Monster Lord. And since this player doesn't have one, I guess we'll just use a card. Each player gets 3 monsters, or if you're playing an advanced game, you get 10 monsters. As you play Summon Crests, you get to lay pieces down with monsters on them, either being blue or red. From here on out, if you've seen the episode of Dungeon Dice Monsters from the anime, or if you've read the manga chapter, you kind of know how to play Dungeon Dice Monsters pretty much. Each player gets 3 life, you get to choose 3 dice of your choice and roll them, and then depending on the summon crests you get to summon a monster. Only if you roll 2 though, and then the other crests you get to save up to do things later. Generally speaking, if a monster has a special ability that requires a certain crest, it'll say so in the monster's card text box. And varying crests also help you with moving your monster spaces and attacking and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, that's Dungeon Dice Monsters, and like I said, I think it's pretty fun. Kinda simple, can go by the game pretty fast if you're playing a simple game. I'm sure if you're playing a more advanced game, it's a little bit more involved, you're strategizing your board and where your monsters are going and stuff like that. But yeah, they made 137 pieces apparently for Dungeon Dice Monsters, but as far as I know, it just didn't actually pick up all that much. It didn't go much further than its first set. I've tried scouring eBay for a lot of these figures and pieces for Dungeon Dice Monsters, and number 1, boy are they expensive. And number 2, it just seems like you can't really find that many different pieces for Dungeon Dice Monsters. I don't know where the discrepancy is there. Maybe it's just that people didn't buy them or something like that. But overall, I think it's pretty interesting. I think the product is pretty well made. Obviously, the one that I've bought is pre-owned, so there's some damage to certain things. earlier while recording this, Strike Ninja broke, and it's not like it broke, like I can still put it back together, but just to give you like the wear and the age of this product. But I don't know, I did want to show this game off just because I think it's cool, and I thought other people might like to see it if they never got to see it when they were a kid, or some people didn't even know that Dungeon Dice Monsters existed. But if you're like me and you knew it existed and you just never got to have it as a kid, you might have wanted to see what it was like. I think Dungeon Dice Monsters was good. I think that if we had got a little more exposure to it in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, it might have gotten a little bit bigger. But who knows, there are some people that look back on the Dungeon Dice Monsters episode and don't think of it as fondly as I did. Honestly, trade secret, Dungeon Dice Monsters was the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh I ever saw. That was the episode that got me into Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, that's it. That's the video. I just wanted to show off some Dungeon Dice Monsters and have a little bit of fun with it. I still have a lot more stuff coming. I'm still thinking up more and more Yu-Gi-Oh stuff to do. I've got a couple of chaotic videos that I want to do. I have at least one more magic video that I want to do. And of course, the rest of the card game review series. But I've got a whole bunch of other treats for you, so stick around for that. Thank you for watching, and until next time, drink your water.